In this discussion over the next 10 minutes is about disruption. It's a word that no doubt is synonymous now with digital, and it's a word that you'll hear a lot about. The thought that I want to put in your minds is that disruption occurs when two significant or more events occur, and disruption in the financial services industry is occurring because of two significant events. The first is significant demographic change that's unfolding. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. The second is technological change, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about that. So let me begin by just sort of talking about demographic change. The reason why this is so important to the financial services sector is for three key reasons, and that is that when it comes to generations Y or millennials, that is those that are broadly aged between about 18 and 35, those people today make up our workforces and will increasingly make up our workforces looking forward. By 2020, which is just there, they're going to make up 1 in 2 people in the workforce. These are the people that are going to be earning the income. The second most important reason of why that demographic is important is because they're the demographic that is spending the income. They're spending 5 times more money than what we were spending when we were their age. The third most important reason of why that demographic is important is because of intergenerational wealth transfer. Today, generations X and Y make up about 36% of national wealth, and through the course of time, that's going to increase to 70% of national wealth. And the one assumption we can't make is when that money moves, so will the legacy relationships associated with that wealth. It just doesn't happen that way. The second area that I want to talk about is a little bit about technology. Now here, in 2014, we crossed over into a very, very significant inflection point in the financial services sector. For the first time in 18 of the 22 countries that I looked at, the mobile device has now become the primary device upon which people are accessing financial services. People have chosen the smartphone to be the connection between their physical life and their digital life. And in a mobile-first financial services world, we've got to think about digitally completely different. It's a mobile digital world that we've got to think about. Now, in that context, we also need to remind ourselves of the impact of cybercrime. Cybercrime is affecting people like never before on alarming sets of numbers. Here in Australia, 1 in 3 people have been impacted by identity theft. What's wrong with that? Well, what's wrong with that is that 40% of those people believe it's the institution's fault. 65% of those people are likely to leave the institution as a result of that. The one thing that financial institutions have in spades over any other organisational type is trust. But here's the thing, trust is perishable. And with the incidence of identity theft impacting people worldwide, we need to think about cybercrime and security in a completely different light when it comes to digital. The third area that I want to talk about is that in a mobile-first financial services world, we have the opportunity to completely rethink the experiences that people will want through that device. It's not the same as what people expect through an online or through a computer-based experience. That device, as I mentioned before, is the device that we have chosen to make the connection between our physical world and our digital world. And the 3 things that people want when it comes to financial services through that device are convenience. Now, convenience isn't just a function of just opening up the app and there it is. People want personalisation. This is about them and their relationship with you. It has nothing to do with, being treated as just sort of one of the norms. And convenience is something that these generations will not tolerate as generations before them. I was talking to my colleagues about this before we kicked off. Why is it that we tolerate standing in queues? Why is that? It's not a pleasant experience. It can't be for enjoyment. We do it because we have to do it, but we tolerate it. And we're now up against generations who don't need to tolerate that anymore, because they can say goodbye to you by just closing that app, and they can say hello to somebody else by just opening up that app. And so we've got to think about personalisation very, very importantly when we think about what people want as a result of personalisation and customisation and applications. Now, the next area that I just want to sort of touch on is about content and media. And Amanda will share lots of her great experiences on this in the discussion. But financial institutions have to increasingly become media and publishing-based capabilities within their organisations. This is very, very important in terms of thinking about how to communicate, how to create experiences that people value. We sort of saw in that first question, which was a terrific question about engagement and the lack of engagement. Well, the way people expect to consume services and information has profoundly changed. And if we just look at what happened to the media industry as an industry, probably one of the first that was digitally disrupted, it's because today you can select what content you want, from what source you want, in what form you want, at what time of day you want, through the device that you want. The way we consume media has profoundly changed. And there is a blurring now between what we want in terms of lifestyle services and financial services. In some research that I'm doing at the moment around millennials, those two things are fused. What people expect in terms of the way with which they want to live their lives and the role that finance plays in that is inextricably linked. And so we need to think very, very carefully about shifting away from just online and digital being about transactional-based activity. It's much, much more than that. It's about engagement, and engagement is about content. And we'll have a big discussion on that as we get into the conversation. So look, in just sort of summarising, I'm just going to sort of start by saying the one thing that you have that fintechs don't have is trust. And trust to generations X and Y means four things: trust to keep my finances secure, trust to keep my personal information secure, trust to keep private the interactions I have with your organisation, and then lastly, the reputation of your organisation when it comes to security, identity and authentication-based services. In a mobile-first financial services world, we have the opportunity to shift the trust paradigm away from making people prove who they are to you using conventions such as user ID and password, which are inherently flawed, onto technologies that recognise them for who they are. Now, what people want in a mobile experience with their financial institution is convenience, personalisation, and customisation. Those are the three key aspects of the experience that they're looking for. So I hope this has helped sort of open up your minds to the discussion around digital, and I look forward to extending this conversation with my colleagues. Thank you.
Terrific. I know that Amanda and Rocky will be bursting, ready to react.